I never imagined stepping into Brisbane of 1850 could feel so alive. Streets bustling with people, the scent of trade in the air, and every corner echoing centuries of history, waiting to be discovered. Yet here we are, amid the subtropical haze of a riverside town on the cusp of transformation, where the Brisbane River snakes through lush valleys like a lifeline pulsing with possibility.
I use modern AI tools to bring historic maps, early photographs, and 19th century illustrations of Brisbane to life, allowing us to shift perspective and step directly into the world of the past.
Picture the geography that shaped it all, a humid, flood-prone basin framed by the Taylor Range to the west and Moreton Bay to the east, where mangrove-lined banks give way to fertile floodplains ideal for early farming. By 1850, Brisbane had shaken off its penal colony roots, evolving from a harsh outpost into a free settlement of around 8,000 souls, convict descendants mingling with ambitious free settlers drawn by whispers of opportunity. The initial trade hummed with simplicity. Timber felled from vast hoop pine forests floated downriver to mills, while small plots yielded maize, cotton and arrowroot, bartered at makeshift wharves for Sydney-bound ships. Challenges loomed: large, unpredictable monsoons that turned dirt tracks to quagmires, venomous snakes slithering through underbrush, and the constant threat of isolation in this northern frontier. Sometimes I imagine what
it felt like for those first arrivals, stepping off steamers onto creaking docks, the salty tang of the bay.
The salty tang of the bay mixing with the earthy aroma of freshly turned soil. Governance was nascent, overseen by New South Wales, until the push for separation gathered steam. Local magistrates enforced rudimentary laws in timber courtrooms, while Indigenous relations simmered with tension. The Yugara and Turrbal peoples, custodians of these lands for millennia, faced displacement as settlers encroached. Yet interactions flickered, barters for fish at river camps, uneasy alliances amid frontier skirmishes. Cultural exchanges emerged too. European tools traded for native knowledge of bush tucker, like bunya nuts harvested in seasonal gatherings that predated the colonists. Technological sparks lit the way forward, simple irrigation ditches channeling river water to crops, and bullock-drawn ploughs breaking ground for sugarcane experiments.
Get up there, steady now.
Architecture began humbly, slab huts with bark roofs dotting the landscape, evolving into sturdier weatherboard cottages, elevated on stumps to combat floods and termites. The city's lifelines bound it together. The Brisbane River as the main artery for ferries and barges, rough corduroy roads like the one to Ipswich carving through scrub, and trade routes linking to the Darling Downs for wool shipments that promised prosperity. You might be surprised to learn how travellers like the explorer Ludwig Leichhardt, passing through in 1851, marvelled at the town's resilience, noting in his journals the vigorous growth amid tropical luxuriance. Historians later reflected on 1854's first municipal elections, a chaotic affair where freeholders voted amid dusty polling booths, laying groundwork for self-rule. Environmental adaptations were clever. Settlers planted fig trees for shade against the relentless sun, and built verandas to catch cooling breezes. In 1857, the arrival of German immigrants brought disciplined farming techniques, transforming swampy pockets into productive gardens. Key landmarks anchored this budding settlement. Take the Commissariat store, built in 1829, but thriving by 1850 as a stone fortress along William Street. Its thick sandstone walls, arched windows, and cavernous storerooms served as a supply hub, buzzing with clerks tallying rations amid the clatter of barrels and the musty scent of salted beef.
Quality goods here today at the Commissariat store. We start the bidding now. Who will give me £5?
Socially, it was a gathering spot for auctions and announcements, culturally symbolising colonial endurance, though hazards like river erosion gnawed at its foundations. Then there's Windmill Hill, later Observatory Hill, where the 1828 windmill stood sentinel, its weathered sails creaking in the wind, grinding grain with a rhythmic thud that echoed across valleys. A beacon for navigation, but plagued by mechanical breakdowns in humid air. Old Government House, completed in 1862 but planned in the 1850s, rose as a grand Georgian edifice of rendered brick, spacious rooms with high ceilings for ventilation, hosting gubernatorial receptions where the aroma of roast lamb mingled with cigar smoke. Embodying political aspirations yet vulnerable to white ants burrowing into timbers. The early customs house on Petrie Bight, a modest timber structure by 1850, overlooked the river with its flagstaff signalling arrivals. It facilitated trade duties, alive with the shouts of porters and the splash of oars. Culturally, a melting pot where indigenous canoes docked alongside clippers. Finally, the first Victoria Bridge, a timber span from 1865, arched over the river, its planks groaning under cartwheels, connecting north and south banks for commerce, though floods tested its pilings relentlessly. As the 1850s gave way to dreams of independence, whispers of separation from New South Wales grew louder, hinting at tensions that would soon boil over into a new era of growth and unforeseen trials.
Good morning, Brisbane. The town is starting to stir into life.
Imagine waking to the crow of roosters in a Brisbane of the 1860s, the humid air thick with the aroma of baking bread from wood-fired ovens, as the town stirred into its daily rhythm. Life here was a tapestry of hierarchies. At the top, colonial elites like squatters and merchants in starched collars, dictating from verandas. Below them, artisans hammering in workshops, labourers sweating on docks, and women managing households with quiet determination. Children scampered through laneways, learning trades or attending fledgling schools, while immigrants, Germans with their precise farming, Irish with lively tales, added vibrant threads. Indigenous peoples navigated the fringes, some employed as trackers or domestics, their traditional ways clashing with encroaching rules, fostering uneasy coexistences marked by barters at market edges.
That's a fine price for this wool, sir.
I'll give you 2 shillings.
Not enough.
How about 3?
Deal. And these pineapples?
Markets buzzed with energy. The weekly Queen Street stalls overflowed with fresh produce, sweet potatoes, pineapples and wool bales. Traders haggling in a cacophony of accents, the metallic tang of coins exchanging hands. Trade networks stretched to Sydney for imports like tea and tools, taxation levied by customs officers ensuring colonial coffers swelled.
The ship's manifest, sir. 30 bales of tea, correctly tallied. Exchange for 2 bushels of flour. Your receipt, sir.
Crafts flourished. Blacksmiths forging horseshoes with rhythmic clangs, tailors stitching sturdy garments from imported cloth. Festivals brought relief. The annual agricultural show from 1861 showcased prize cattle amid brass band tunes and laughter.
The brass band sounds grand.
Look at the size of that steer.
Quite a turnout for the show this year.
Always is a true community gathering.
While religious observances at St John's Anglican Church drew congregations for hymns echoing through vaulted halls. Education took root in national schools like the one at Fortitude Valley, where slates scratched with lessons on arithmetic and empire, shaping young minds amid the scent of chalk dust.
2p for that fine one.
Governance solidified post-1859 separation. The new Queensland Parliament convened in makeshift chambers, debating land laws with fervent oratory.
We stand today at the precipice of self-governance. The eyes of the colony are upon us, and we must not falter in this urgent task.
While police in blue uniforms patrolled on horseback, enforcing order from the watch house on George Street. Political structures favoured squatters initially, but urban voices rose.
This confirms the boundaries we discussed.
Yes, sir. Everything appears to be in order.
Administrative hubs like the Lands Office processing claims with the rustle of parchments. Transport evolved dramatically, streets paved with macadam to ease muddy ruts, new ferries chugging across the river with the churn of paddles, ports expanding with deeper berths for steamships that quickened commerce to the goldfields. I was surprised to discover stories like that of Mary McConnell, a pioneering educator who in 1874 founded the Brisbane Children's Hospital. Her tireless efforts amid the cries of the ill reflecting women's growing roles. Historians note 1872's first telegraph line to Sydney, buzzing with messages that shrank distances, or travellers' accounts of the 1869 Ekka Fair, where the thump of hooves in races mingled with cheers. Economic systems shifted from subsistence to export-driven, with sugar mills grinding cane in a sticky haze, and infrastructural leaps like the 1875 Indo-Rupali rail bridge spanning the river with iron girders humming under trains. New public spaces emerged. The Botanic Gardens, planted in 1855 but flourishing by the 1870s with exotic palms rustling in breezes, a haven for picnics and reflection. The School of Arts on Ann Street, its library shelves groaning with books, hosting lectures amid the flicker of gas lamps. Holy. Trinity Church in Fortitude Valley, its Gothic spires piercing the sky, bells tolling for services that united diverse flocks. Sensory details painted the everyday, the gritty texture of cobblestones under boots, the savoury smoke from street vendors' grills, the gentle sway of horse trams clattering along tracks. Yet as prosperity mounted, strains appeared, overcrowded tenements whispering of inequality, economic bubbles inflating toward a precarious edge that threatened to burst. The air grew thick with unrest in Brisbane's turbulent 1880s, where the crackle of flames and the roar of floodwaters tested the town's fragile bonds. Conflicts erupted from economic woes. The 1866 Bread or Blood riots saw desperate unemployed workers, their faces gaunt from hunger, storming Queen Street in a frenzy of shouts and shattered glass, clashing with police batons amid the acrid smoke of torches. This stemmed from the global financial panic, linking back to overextended trade networks that left labourers idle at wharves once bustling with cargo. Frontier violence simmered too. Skirmishes with indigenous groups like the Ugera, displaced from river camps, flared in outlying areas, rifles echoing through valleys as settlers defended farms built on contested lands. Political unrest brewed in Parliament's halls, where squatter dominance sparked 1888's heated debates over land reforms, crowds gathering outside with jeers that vibrated the air. Epidemics struck hard. The 1885 typhoid outbreak, born from contaminated water in crowded Frogs Hollow, filled makeshift hospitals with the moans of the afflicted, the sharp scent of carbolic acid failing to mask decay. Disasters compounded the chaos. The 1864 Great Fire ravaged Queen Street, flames leaping from timber shops in a blistering heat that scorched skin, the crash of collapsing roofs drowning out cries for water buckets, destroying warehouses tied to early trade hubs and forcing a rebuild in stone. Floods ravaged relentlessly. The 1890 deluge swelled the river to furious heights, muddy torrents surging through streets, sweeping away bridges with a thunderous snap, residents clinging to rooftops amid the chill of rising waters. This near collapse echoed earlier environmental vulnerabilities, economic crises amplifying the toll as submerged markets halted commerce, leaving silt-caked ruins.
The water took everything. There's no value left here.
Human stories pierce the heart, like the family of Chinese merchant Assam, whose shop in the riots was looted amid racial slurs, their resilience shining as they rebuilt plank by plank.
I have the nails.
Good. Let's finish this one.
Immediate adaptations emerged, volunteers forming bucket brigades, the sting of smoke in eyes, or indigenous knowledge aiding flood rescues with canoes gliding through debris. Consequences lingered, scarred landscapes, bereaved families, and a shaken economy teetering on bankruptcy. New sites bore witness: the Frogs Hollow slum, its narrow alleys slick with mud during epidemics, shanties trembling in gales, the old watch house on Petrie Terrace, cells echoing with rioters' protests, Kangaroo Point cliffs where flood refugees huddled, the crash of waves below heightening. Fear, tension built to a climax, the town hovering on the brink, its foundations cracking under the weight of unchecked growth. From the ashes and silt of near collapse, Brisbane in the late 1880s forged a path to renewal. The clatter of hammers on scaffolds signalling rebirth as the town expanded outward. Rebuilding efforts were swift. After the 1890 flood, volunteers dredged streets, their muscles aching from shoveling mud, while engineers redesigned wharves with higher pilings to withstand future surges. Urban expansion pushed boundaries. New suburbs like New Farm sprouted with grid-patterned roads, linking back to the river's role in earlier connectivity, but now fortified against its wrath. Governance reforms took hold. The 1888 Municipal Institutions Act streamlined councils, debates in the new Treasury building, echoing with plans for better drainage, addressing political unrest by empowering urban voices over squatters. Cultural development blossomed. The Queensland Museum opened in 1890, its halls filled with artefacts that preserved Indigenous tools alongside colonial relics, fostering a shared heritage amid the quiet rustle of visitors' footsteps. Social transformations emerged. Women's suffrage stirrings in literary societies, the aroma of tea at meetings fueling discussions, while education expanded with technical colleges teaching skills like engineering, evolving from basic schools. Surviving landmarks transformed. The rebuilt Queen Street shops, now in sturdy brick, bustled anew with the chime of cash registers. Infrastructure changes like the 1889 electrification of streets cast glowing arcs over pavements, banishing the darkness of crises. City planning emphasised resilience, wider boulevards to ease congestion, parks like Musgrave for recreation, where laughter replaced cries of distress.
It's just what I needed after that walk.
Yes, it is wonderful to simply sit and breathe for a moment.
Technological advancements accelerated, steam-powered mills grinding sugar with a steady hum, economic recovery through diversified exports like canned pineapples, mitigating earlier trade vulnerabilities. Cause effect rippled from disasters, floods spurred environmental awareness, with mangrove replanting to buffer banks, while fires led to fire brigades that saved lives in later scares. Historians like Ronald Lawson reflected on the 1890s as a turning point, noting how crises forged a cosmopolitan spirit that endures in modern Brisbane's diverse festivals. Continuity of traditions persists, Indigenous cultural exchanges evolving into recognitions.
These baskets are tightly woven.
Yes, they will hold the flour well.
Lessons in tenacity teaching us that from fragility comes strength. As we step back from this revived era, the echoes of resilience linger, reminding us of humanity's unyielding spirit. Which city or era should we revive next?
Which city or era should we revive next? Let me know in the comments.